Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levi, and today we're going to talk about Dana White's Contender Series Week 10. My friends, it's going down this Tuesday night live at the Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. The final episode of this season of Contender Series, and man, it's been a hell of a ride. Ups, there's been some downs, but overall, it's been a lot of fun. And picking Contender Series is so different than UFC. This has been one hell of an experience. And it doesn't stop yet. We got 6 fights to break down. So my friends, without further ado, let's get right down to business. Because kicking off this card in the middleweight division, we got a matchup between Mario Mingaj, he's 7-0, taking on Wes Schultz, who's 7-2. Currently, they got it Wes Schultz minus 190. The comeback on Mario is plus 165. Wes Schultz is 29. Mario is 26. Mario is 2 inches taller at 6'4". He comes out of Pompeo's team, and Wes comes out of Pura Vida BJJ in Wisconsin. So they're giving Wes another chance on Contender Series, and I'm glad they are because he simply ran into a buzzsaw in Mansur Abdul Malik his first time. I mean, but look, Wes Schultz, he's got a D3 wrestling background. I kind of view him as like an American Elias Theodoro. Here you see him getting taken down, but now he returns the favor on Dylan Budka. Nasty guillotine. This was his most recent fight. And again, with Wes Schultz, good volume on the feet. Actually, this was his most recent fight. I take it back because he got guillotines in both. But yeah, this was his most recent fight. But yeah, he can mix up all kinds of takedowns. And he's not the most athletic guy in the world, but he's relentless. And like I said, he kind of reminds me of like Elias Theodoro a little bit, where it doesn't look the prettiest. First of all, RIP Elias Theodoro. It doesn't look the prettiest, but he's got very, very good cardio. He's willing to push. And he's just a tough dude. Here against Mansur, man, he gave Mansur all kinds of issues, but you know Mansur is just a physical freak, and you know Mansur ends up finishing the fight, but Wesley Schultz, simply put, was up against it in that fight, whereas here against, you know, this dude, this ain't no Mansur Abdul Malik. Let's be very clear about that. On the other side with Mario Mingaj, I basically describe this guy as the Italian Paul Craig, man. He's basically a triangle or bust guy. I mean, you know, he's got some stuff, but what he's really known for, he lets you take him down. He locks you up in that triangle. Look, I can't cap. His triangle is absolutely disgusting, and it's not something you're used to seeing, especially at 185 pounds. So, I mean, if you want to mess around in this guy's guard, he's going to have something waiting for you. And also, look, he's got some more submissions, some rear naked chokes and whatnot, but what he's really known for, I mean, he's he's like the middleweight Paul Craig, the middleweight T-City, you know, the Italian Paul Craig. But yeah, again, like he's had some other stuff, but I'm saying the only skill that I think would translate at the UFC level is that triangle choke game. The rest of his stuff, I just don't see panning out at the at the UFC level. And I love Italy, man. I mean, when you think about Italy, one of the most gorgeous places in the world with beautiful cities, unbelievable food, stylish clothes, scenic views, gorgeous women, but they're simply not known for fighting in a cage. I respect Mario, but triangle or bust, you know? But again, we've seen so many things on Contender Series that nothing is going to surprise me. Look, it's going to surprise me if Mario knocks out Wes Schultz, but it's not going to surprise me if Wes Schultz dominates Mario for 2.5 rounds and then gets triangled in the 3rd round. But ultimately, if Wes Schultz can just keep his head on his shoulders, kid, you're a former D3 wrestler. Use your wrestling in reverse, or if you decide to get on top of Mario, pass the half guard and camp there and land ground and pound on him, and don't let him set up that triangle choke. So Mario is triangle or bust in this spot, and if Wes Schultz can avoid it, I can't guarantee he gets a contract, but I think he should come out here and win this fight. So for that reason, I'm going to pick Wes Schultz. Next up in the heavyweight division, we got a matchup between Azamat Nuftillaev. He's 17-1-1, taking on Jovan Leka, who's 10-2. Currently, they got it Azamat minus 125. The comeback on Jovan is plus 105. So Azamat Nuftillaev is 31. Jovan Leka is 23. Jovan Leka is 4 inches taller at 6'5". He comes out of Family Fight Team, and Azamat comes out of Fight Baza. So interesting matchup in the heavyweight division. You got the 2 big boys here. And with Nuftillaev, he fights exactly how you'd expect him to fight with a name like that. Look, he comes out of Uzbekistan. He fights with a lot of pride. And when you look at this guy, what you got to know about him is that in the early going, you do not want this guy on top of you whatsoever, because he's going to hit some high amplitude takedowns, whether it's common takedowns like single legs or going out there and literally giving dudes sky miles. Once this guy gets on top of you, he's got ground and pound, he's got submissions. And again, in that early going, this is the last place you want to be with this guy wrapping those arms around your neck. Look at that high amplitude throw, man. I mean, he gave that dude sky miles. He stamped his passport. He sent him on his way. But he's got a wide array of takedowns. And again, the ground and pounds on point, the trips. So you got to look out for him. He can stand up a little bit. I mean, his striking is serviceable, but that's not what he's known for. You guys know damn well what he's known for. And basically, heavy top pressure, big throws, outside trips, single legs, double legs, the whole ordeal. Now on the other side with Jovan Leka, he's one of these examples of don't judge a book by its cover. Because look at this. This guy's fat and he's throwing front kicks to the face, high kicks, ground and pound. He's pretty damn well-rounded, and you think he's just some fat tub of lard, and then he moves a lot faster and more athletically than you'd expect. I mean, that guy just threw a spinning hook kick. He's got arm triangle submissions, flying knees. I mean, like, what's not to like about Jovan Leka? So again, it's one of these situations where in the early going, he might have to weather a storm, but if he can get Azamat to that fatigue state and then start getting his game going, this guy is competent everywhere the fight goes. He just left Buddy in a pool of his own blood. Here he is kicking dudes' legs out from under him, body shots, ground and pound. I mean, he's really, really well-rounded. I like how relaxed he is, and he's got good finishing instincts. So this dude, Jovan Leka, brings a lot to the table, especially for being such a young guy. So in this matchup, the early going, listen, Nuftillaev, he comes out of Uzbekistan. He fights with a lot of pride, like I said. I think in the early going, Nuftillaev probably can get those takedowns. However, if Leka can stay safe, survive, and then drag this into that second and third round, I think that Nuftillaev is going to slow down a little bit, and that's where Leka start to chop him down with leg kicks, start to mix it up to the body. And don't be surprised if Leka mixes in a takedown or two of his own. However, I'm not going to predict that, but what I am going to predict is that he starts to get some striking success on a gassed out Nuftillaev down the stretch. So this is a tough one to call. Both guys are pretty decent, but actually I'm going to take the underdog, Jovan Leka, here. I think he's the more well-rounded guy. I think he's the more talented guy. And if he can weather that early storm, I think he's got a great chance to come out here and get this upset. Next up in the welterweight division, we got a matchup between Michael Oliveira, he's 8-0, taking on Victor Valenzuela, who's 12-3. Currently, they got it. Michael Oliveira minus 220. The comeback on Victor Valenzuela is plus 185. Michael is 27. Victor is 31. Michael's 6 feet. Victor's 5'9". Victor fights out of MMA Masters in Florida, and Michael fights out of KO Squad MMA in Brazil. So this one, I think that Dana White's going to be clapping, because you got this prospect in Michael Oliveira. He's a former colonel in the Brazilian army, but when you look at his fighting skills, he's just as mean outside the octagon as he is inside of it. Because, I mean, look at this guy, man. Absolute physical specimen. Here is a case where you judge a book by its cover. Look how this guy looks, and look how he fights. When he smells blood, he tees off on guys all levels, up high, to the body, down low. And when he senses that he's got you hurt, his killer instinct is second to none, man. And being that athletic, he's super tough to take down. And in addition to his physical gifts, he's a very mature and patient guy. For having less than 10 pro fights, this guy truly takes his time. He's never in a rush. But again, when he's got you hurt, he will go ahead and tee off on you and finish the show. So there's truly a lot to like about Michael Oliveira. And I can't really say that I've seen too many weaknesses in his game. It's just a matter of getting that experience, getting that ring time. And eventually this is going to be a guy that if his head stays on straight, he's going to go far in the UFC. And in that most recent fight that went to decision, on one hand, you could say, hey, man, he kind of played with his food a little bit. He could have easily finished that guy. He might have let him off the hook a bit. At the same token, it's important to get those rounds and get that cage time in. Know what it's like when, hey, you don't just get everyone out of there in that first round. Some guys are going to survive your storm. That's okay, because when you get to the UFC, not everyone's going to get knocked out with the first punch you throw. So I thought that was a very invaluable experience for Oliveira, and one that he's absolutely going to learn from, grow from, and come back better from. Now on the other side with Victor Valenzuela, listen, man, he's short, he's stocky, not that much footwork, and here you see him getting dropped, but he comes back and he knocks this dude out. And I gotta say something about Victor. I think he's got some sneaky power, man. He doesn't look like the heaviest hitter, but when he lands, he gets all kinds of ridiculous reactions from his opponents. So moral of the story, you probably don't want to stand and bang in the pocket, blow for blow with this guy. He definitely can be picked apart. He can be taken down, and he can give up some bad positions like he's doing here against this jobber. But when he lands his shots, I mean, look at that leg kick, man. He destroyed that dude's calf and then knocked him out unconscious. So he's what I describe as a dangerous and opportunistic fighter. Look, he's probably not going to be winning the minutes, but if he gets you hurt, he will smell blood and he will tee off. That being said, he's just simply running into a buzzsaw here in Oliveira, who has him outgunned in pretty much every area of MMA. And in addition to that, is just simply a better athlete, has more potential, more talent. One thing I'll give to Valenzuela is I like the fact that he's not undefeated, because I talk about it all the time. No one is exempt from that first L. To a lot of people, they're like, hey, this guy's undefeated. That's like a green flag to them. To me, being undefeated, unless your name is John Jones or Habib, is a red flag. It just means that you haven't ran into the right opponent yet, because for you to go undefeated at this level, I mean, it's a very, very rare occasion. So I don't think that Oliveira is going to finish his career undefeated. But do I think he's going to get past Victor Valenzuela? Yes, I do. I just simply think that Valenzuela's got a puncher's chance here, but there's no proof or evidence of Oliveira having some kind of chin issue, having some kind of defensive liability, giving too many openings. I just don't see it. So I think that Oliveira is going to come out here, knock out Victor Valenzuela, and I think Dana White's going to be like, hey, Oliveira, get your ass over here and welcome to the UFC. Next up in the featherweight division, we got a matchup between Marwan Rahiki, he's 6-0, taking on Ananias Mulumba, who's 9-2. Currently, they got it Marwan Rahiki minus 230. The comeback on Ananias Mulumba is plus 195. So Rahiki is 22, Mulumba is 27. Rahiki is an inch taller at 5'10". He fights out of Lion's Den, and Mulumba trains out of Elite Training Center. So you got Australia versus Congo. So this is an interesting matchup here, because on one hand, with Mulumba, you got a very physical African prospect who, this guy's a tank, man. And the thing about this dude Mulumba, we've seen with these other African prospects, they like to swing big, and not that this guy doesn't, but what he's known for is going out there and bum rushing guys and getting them down to the ground and either pounding them out or tapping them out. But make no mistake about it, if your stand-up ain't quite up to par, he can go ahead and drop you there too. But in this matchup, I'm not sure if that's going to be the case. But what might be the case is, look at that inside trip to the ground and pound. Yeah, like this guy is heavy on top. He's very, very physical, strong, athletic, and he's got the confidence and mindset of a winner. And again, you do not want this guy on top of you. So I think that Rahiki has got to understand that. And look, man, this guy's got a wide array of submissions, loves that rear naked choke with that gable grip. So he's a very, very dangerous guy. But on the other side with Marwan Rahiki, you're dealing with a very serious prospect here. Only 22 years old. Look at that spin. And what I like most about Rahiki is how proficient he is at switching stances. He's just as good orthodox as he is southpaw. He can fire off straight punches from both sides. And man, he's out there just looking like a serious talent, looking like someone that has the kind of potential that, just like we talked about earlier, this guy keeps his head on straight, and he could potentially be a future top 15 guy. Nice judo throw there. If there's one weakness I got to give to Rahiki, I think his takedown defense is kind of in question. As you see here, he gets taken down by not the best guy in the world, but he's also hit some disgusting sweeps. I love that body rip to the leg kick. We call that the Jose Aldo. Look at that hip bump sweep. So again, although he's got to work on some things on the ground, Make no mistake about it, this guy's improving, but on the feet, he just folds guys, spinning kicks to the body, straight punches. There's so much to like about Rahiki, and his finished product is going to be something special. So here in this matchup, I'm just hoping that since the last time we saw Rahiki fight, that his takedown defense has improved just this much, because if it has, I think that he's a lot more clean, a lot more crisp on the feet than Mulumba. But Mulumba is a very, very strong physical guy. Like I said, I would describe him as a bulldozer, just goes forward, swings bombs, and then spams those takedowns, looks to get on top of you, suffocate you, ground and pound you, and choke you out. There's such a class difference on the feet here with Rahiki, man. He's going to be switching stances. He's going to be throwing straight punches. He's going to be mixing up to the body. He's going to be feinting. He's going to be throwing spinning head kicks. Like, Rahiki seems super, super legit. Now, again, we've talked about it many times. You can think that you've scouted the best prospect and all this stuff, and then they just come out here on Contender Series and they might just get knocked out with the first punch. So those are the risks you take when you're capping a show like Dana White's Contender Series. You must remember that it is not the UFC. But all that being said, if I'm basing this off of who I think is the more talented guy with the higher ceiling, more potential, and who I think can really come into the UFC and do damage one day, I think that's Marwan Rahiki. So for that reason, I'm going to pick him to come out here, win this fight, impress Dana White, and get that UFC contract. If you're looking for a sports book that doesn't limit winners or play games when it's time to get paid, then you got to check out my friends at bet105.ag. Super high limits so you can get down whatever you want on any sport. And when it's time to get paid, no KYC, no stupid questions. They're not going to make you run through every single hoop and then, send you a verification code. Then when you type it in, it's expired. Then you have to go through this whole cycle just to get your money. There's none of that. These guys play the game the right way. They're a crypto-only sports book. And right now, we got the MLB playoffs, we got NFL, we got Dana White Tuesday Night Contender, and we got UFC. So my friends, go to bet105.ag, use my promo code HalfTheBattle, deposit $100, and get a $50 free bet at bet105.ag using my promo code HalfTheBattle. Now let's get back to the show. Next up in the bantamweight division, we got a matchup between Juan Il, he's 14-4, taking on Juan Diaz, who's 14-1-1. Currently, they got at Juan Il -140. The comeback on Juan Diaz is +120. Juan Il is 30. Juan Diaz is 27. Juan Il is 3 inches taller at 5'10". He trains out of Extreme Combat, and Juan Diaz trains out of Entram Gym. So this should be an absolute banger. I mean, you got South Korea versus Peru. So you know for a fact that these two are most likely going to draw a line in the sand. There's going to be a lot of pride on the line, and they're probably going to stand and bang until one man falls. When you're talking about this kid, Juan Diaz, I mean, I described him as a Peruvian warrior because that's exactly what he is. And what you get from him is what you'd expect from a dude from Peru. A lot of pride, a lot of spirit, a lot of heart, a banger, a dude that likes to stand and trade with every single person he fights. Maybe not the best takedown defense in the world, but again, this guy loves to just trade in the pocket and might not be the fastest guy in the world, but he's one of these attritional guys where you start to slow down on him, you show him any kind of weakness, you gas out on a guy like Juan Diaz, and he will absolutely go out there and tee off on you. He will definitely go out there and go to war with you. So Juan Diaz is a lot of fun, man. Now, his ground game, I think, needs a lot of work. You see him getting a rear naked choke here, but at the UFC level, I think that he's going to have to level up certain things about his game. Also, I'm worried about the hand speed, but there's no questioning the heart, and there's no questioning how entertaining a guy like Juan Diaz is. Now, on the other side with Juan Il, you're dealing with a kill or be killed banger. Here in this spot, he got killed by Fabricio Andrade. Actually, Andrade finished him twice. But when it's Juan Il's turn to return the favor, boy, does he do so, because he's got this right hand that sits a lot of people down. It's an absolute piston. And when he finds the home for it, I mean, look at that. He just floors dudes, and his finishing instinct is second to none. Guys like Juan Il are why we tune into Contender Series every Tuesday night, because he just goes out there and puts on the exact kind of shows that the fans want to see. I mean, look at that knee. Look at the timing on that, man. I mean, you try to shoot a sloppy takedown on Juan Il, and he will have something there waiting for you. But again, that right hand is, you know, his money punch. But here, early in his career, you saw him getting taken down, getting choked out, but he's learned from that, and he's got a high level of experience in other organizations such as Juan. And I think he's coming in here a little bit more battle tested than Diaz. I just think that he's fought the better level of competition. But in addition to the competition he's fought, because you can fight a better level of competition and not be better than the guy that's in front of you. But I think that Kwon Won-il is better than the guy in front of him. I mean, faster, more athletic, more precise, and his sniping abilities on the feet are second to none. And the thing with this matchup is that Diaz's willingness to brawl is the reason we love him, but it's also the reason why I think he's going to get knocked out on Tuesday night. I'm going to go Kwon Won-il to come out here, knock out Juan Diaz, and get that UFC contract. Featured bout in the light heavyweight division, we got the return of Freddy Vidal. He's 4-0, taking on Levi Rodrigues, who's 5-0. Currently, they got it Levi Rodrigues minus 140. The comeback on Freddy Vidal is plus 120. So Levi is 28, Freddy is 31. Freddy is 2 inches taller at 6'3". He trains out of Serra Longo, and Levi Rodrigues trains out of Inside Muay Thai. So y'all remember Freddy Vidal from, you know, earlier on in the season. He got a big upset against an 8-0 Brazilian coming out of Jailton Almeida's gym. It was kind of a sloppy fight. I mean, to the point where Dana White didn't sign him on the night, but he respected the fact that Vidal took it on short notice. And he was like, hey, you did us this favor. Now we'll do you a favor and give you another fight on Contender Series here on the last episode of the season. So when you're talking about Freddy Vidal, he's a guy with a wrestling background. But here you see him getting taken down, but he's very hard to hold down. He's good at reversing those positions, and he's a physical dude. You do not want Freddy Vidal on top of you. You can tell he's got that wrestling background. And I know his cardio didn't look the best, but man, he pushed through fatigue very, very well. I was impressed. For short notice, I mean, I got to give him credit. It might have been sloppy. It might have been ugly, but the guy's got a lot of heart. He also leaves a lot of openings. So this is going to be a really interesting fight here. I'm glad that we get to see him again, because I feel like if he came to the UFC right away, he'd probably get smoked. But here, again, this is against a black belt, and he's reversing these positions, and he's just really showing his desire, his will to win, and then eventually tapping a guy out like this. Look, it wasn't because his jiu-jitsu's that good. It's more so that Buddy was super gassed. But regardless, you tap out a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt on short notice, I'm not going to take that away from you. So I'm happy to see Freddy Vidal coming out here with a full camp, and I'm curious to see how he performs. Because on the other side with Levi Rodrigues, I mean, that first name indicates that he's a winner, and this guy is a very, very heavy hitter. He can scramble a little bit on the mat, but what he's really known for is he just sits dudes down, whether it's the left hand, whether it's the right hand. I mean, this guy's got power in both punches. And you can tell this guy's got some kind of kickboxing background, man. I mean, look at this. He just sits guys down, and he's so exciting to watch. He's exactly what the UFC wants, man. I mean, we're not trying to watch people lay on guys and make the crowd boo. We want to see knockout artists like Levi Rodrigues. And ever since his amateur days, he's been flooring dudes. This is what he does. Levi Rodrigues knocks dudes the you-know-what out, man. So, oh my God, that left hook, that high kick, dude, like, I'm glad the ref stepped in there and stopped it before he folded guy like he did to this one, you know? And it never stops with this guy. When he touches you flush on that chin, bodies hit the floor. So for Freddy Vidal, he's got to be sniffing crotch. He's got to be humping legs. He's got to be making the crowd boo and boring Dana White to sleep in order to win this fight. Because if he stands and bangs with Levi Rodrigues, I'm going to look you in the eye right now with a straight face and tell you he will hit the deck. So there are questions about Levi Rodrigues' takedown defense and get-up game because, look, he's only 5-0. He hasn't fought a wrestler of this caliber yet. But that being said, the raw potential and just that knockout power is truly something to respect. And Freddy Vidal, if he can eat these shots, all power to him. I'm just not convinced that he does. And did y'all ever see a movie called The Mask of Zorro with Antonio Banderas and Anthony Hopkins? Y'all know at the end of the movie where Don Rafael, the bad guy, you know, he's got a gun to Catherine Zeta-Jones' head, and he tells Anthony Hopkins, do you really think I'd kill my own daughter? Well, let me ask y'all something. Do you really think I'd pick against a guy named Levi? No, I won't. But that being said, his knockout power is truly something to respect. I think Vidal is a little bit too sloppy for him. And if Vidal can't get his wrestling going, I think Vidal's going to hit the deck. So give me Levi Rodrigues to come out here, get this big knockout in the final fight of Contender Series Week 10. And I think Dana White's going to be like, hey, Levi, get your ass over here, kid. You're in the UFC. So now we got to talk about the fight to watch and the fighter to watch. So my friends, what is the fight to watch for the final episode of Dana White's Contender Series? I think that the fight to watch is a no-brainer, and it's got to be Rahiki versus Mulumba. I mean, Rahiki is a serious prospect. The way he switches stances so fluidly, so proficiently. And on the other side, you got this bulldozer in Mulumba. When he gets on top of dudes, they tend not to get back up, and I have a feeling the winner of this fight is going to get a contract and make waves in the UFC. So for that reason, Rahiki versus Mulumba is my fight to watch. So now the question is, who is my fighter to watch? My friends, my fighter to watch is Michael Oliveira. Simply put, I think he's the best prospect on this episode of Dana White's Contender Series. You're dealing with a former colonel in the Brazilian army that's an absolute tank, no pun intended. Knockout power in both punches, can mix in takedowns, has ridiculous takedown defense, finishing instinct, and just massive potential. If this guy can come out here and perform like he did on his tape on Dana White's Contender Series, I think he's going to come to the UFC and be someone to look out for. So for that reason, Michael Oliveira is my fighter to watch. Well, my friends, we did it. I want to thank you all so much for all the love and the hate on Contender Series. It's been an incredible season filled with ups and downs, but no matter what, it's been super entertaining, and I can't wait for the next one. Now, I need y'all to do me a big favor. Hit that subscribe button, because once I hit 10K subscribers, I'm giving out some free signed Malcolm Wellmaker merch. And in case you don't know, I also break down the UFC card. So I'm going to be back this Wednesday to break down UFC Vancouver with RDR and Brendan Allen. So hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, leave me a comment, share if you feel so inclined. Shout out to Meticulous for all his incredible work behind the scenes. The fighter highlight reels. Come on. Y'all didn't see those anywhere else. You only saw them on Half the Battle. So shout out Meticulous, the graphics, everything you do behind the scenes. You're the man. And to the fans, I can't thank y'all enough. Whether y'all love the show, hated the show, the fact that you're here so passionate every single week means the world to me. And thank you very much. So until the next time, let's cash these bets.